Malik Nabers, who is probably one of the top wide receivers, uh, specifically young top receivers in the NFL. Here he
Hmm.
is, plays for the
Yep.
New York Giants.
Yep.
You can see we wrote a piece on him saying
We
that
did.
Nabers has never been at reactive strength point B since high school. Okay. And we'll put this article in the so that people that maybe haven't seen it or listened to it, because you can listen to these articles.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
In
Yeah,
the
because whenever we write them, you can always click on it. It says reading time, listening time.
exactly. So essentially, it's interesting. I've been following this him specifically for quite some time,
Okay.
just because I've done work with like NFL wide receivers specifically, like multiple of them, and
Yep.
so it's interesting. So. Let's kind of like walk through. So we have our own definition of what reactive strength is, where there's a top-down neurological component, a bottom-up biological component, and then when those two synergize, that's when you get reactive strength. So like
Correct.
the macro element would be like the neural network, and then the macro bottom-up would be, let's say, like connective tissue, but there's also other micro bottom-up elements, like there's stress
Correct.
stiffening, there's all these other things. So it's interesting. One of the reasons why I've kind of been following Neighbors to a degree is, when you have the TV on, he's always on the bottom line during a game. Hey, Neighbors with this toe, like he's
Oh, he's
always,
always in the injury report, you mean?
yeah, there's always just something that's biological that's limiting him,
Okay.
right? And and then you start to look into this and you're like, oh wow, like he's had a turf toe issue since before he was at LSU. So he was in high school, then he went to LSU, and then he's first round draft pick. But
Okay.
he's been dealing with turf toe since before he was at LSU, so before he was in college.
So a few years anyway.
Yeah. Okay. And then it's interesting, just reading stuff kind of on my own, not really for research for absolute, but I was just reading about it because I'm like, man, this guy's kind of like always has something that's lingering and is clearly like what we would consider a limiting constraint. But we've been trying to get a lot of our concepts out there so that people can program better, right?
Hmm.
And one of the concepts is this neurological to biological asymmetry, where the nervous
Hmm.
system is essentially outpacing the biology.
Yeah. 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 So just to kind of stop on that point. So like we talk about reactive strength having the bottom up, top down components, like they need to synergize, but they need to synergize in a equal way to create the behavior. It's not necessarily that it's like equal contributions per se, but like the synergy has to be just as much from the web of connective tissue as it does from the neural network.
Mm-hmm.
And so
100%.
what we're saying is that in a lot of cases that we see both like in cases like this where we haven't necessarily worked with the athlete per se, but then in a lot of cases where we have had the opportunity to work with the injury, we see that the top down component, um, there's a larger contribution from the top down component.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And so what's interesting is neighbors who he's kind of called this lingering issue. So we'll reframe it instead of turf toe, let's just say bottom up reactive strength deficit.
Yeah, let's stop on that for a second. Let's stop on
Okay.
that for a second because I want to just like turf toe doesn't sound like that important. Okay. When people are like, oh, he's got turf toe, like whatever, it's like it's in the toe. So like how important could it be? The toe is small. Um, that is not necessarily like um a nasty injury in and of itself, although in severe cases, obviously it is. It's a nasty injury in the effects that it creates over time. right? And what I mean by that is like obviously in an athlete like him at the level of competition in the NFL, there's a lot of force production through the leg. There's a lot of running, sprinting, cutting, changing direction. Well, that all has to happen through the medial side of the foot, right? So if the medial side of the foot, particularly the first MTP, is dysfunctional, problematic, I mean that has like large carryover effects. And I can speak from this like with a little personal anecdote because like remember I told you like a few years ago I fractured my big toe,
Hmm.
and now I'm dealing with the after effects of that injury, trying to like manage my big toe. Like there are days that it hurts so bad that my whole gait is off. Like I can't walk normally. So I can't imagine. Now, this isn't turf toe, but it's in the same joint, right? So I can't imagine years upon years of trying to play at that level, like the carryover effects that causes.
Yeah, for sure. Because one of the things that we did, right, is we wrote this article through the lens so that people can understand how to better program. And like,
Yeah,
what does this feedback mean? Like, so like you're discussing like some of the stuff at the level of competition, some of the demands at the level of competition. And you're like, hey, like how is this guy able to do that? Well, clearly, like he's having to compensate,
sure,
right?
definitely.
And clearly, and it's kind of crazy, right? And so I think one of the reasons why this article went so viral, right, is because Nabers is probably neurologically the most dominant wide receiver currently in the league.
Hmm.
But biologically, like what all we're saying is biologically, it's crazy that he's like that when biologically he hasn't been at point B since before high school, right?
Right.
And the other thing to take into consideration is like that's one of the things that you start to see like with the wide receiver position specifically,
Hmm.
like you're going to have high neurological output, right? Like and his output was so high that he got this injury like literally when he was still in high school. So that shows you where his neurology was at that point in time. Like
Hmm.
he's already at a position, in other words, he's already at a position in high school where his nervous system can actually blow up tissue voluntarily. You know what I mean? Like this isn't like change of direction injuries where the tissue gets put into it goes to length and then it can't react and get back to length. This is
Hmm.
his nervous system is voluntarily using the muscle tissue to essentially injure the tissue, like in
Hmm.
high school,
Hmm.
right? Like and like, you know, I know we're used to this and so that's the reason why I gave an example of Michael Thomas, who was former NFL Offensive Player of the Year as a wide receiver, and how he dislocated his toes coming back
Oh
from
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just to show people like, listen, this is how much force is getting outputted into these individuals. But like Michael Thomas did that when he was a NFL veteran. This
Hmm.
guy is able to do that here at high school, and then to your point, he's essentially been compensating for this. You know, he calls it a mosquito. He just can't kill it,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
right? And
Yeah, it's definitely a mosquito, man, for sure.
right. I mean, and and so what's interesting about it? Well, do you have anything to add at this point?
No, no, no.
Okay, so I just because I think what's most interesting about this is we're trying to educate like the readers of Absolute on like this neurological biological asymmetry because we're like, hey, you're gonna keep seeing this, and like the top athletes, you're gonna keep seeing this, and why does that matter? Because you know we wrote another piece on Louis Simmons and how
Yep.
Louis Simmons had a neurological biological asymmetry where when he was doing good mornings, he injured his back.
Right.
He was doing heavy repeated efforts in a good morning. So like
Hmm.
neurologically, that's not really stimulating per se, right?
Hmm.
And like what
Hmm.
stopped him from doing that was he had a disc injury.
Hmm. Hmm.
So his nervous system could have kept going and outputting and expressing more force, but the
Hmm.
biological tissue couldn't, right?
Right.
And the reason why we were doing that was because, you know, another video that we'll get into is like prerequisites for the pendulum and how you should onboard someone from a programming perspective onto a reverse hyper, right? But if you think about it, like the example of Louis Simmons essentially used the reverse hyper to then be able to fill that biological void in
Right.
regards to, let's say, joint function, but not reactive strength,
Right.
because he never programmed the reverse hyper for reactive strength. He programmed it for strength endurance. He programmed it for decompression in the spine. Like there's a lot of stuff that he was doing, but never was it for reactive strength, which makes sense because a powerlifter wouldn't need it. And then that's why he linked up his programming of the reverse hyper with the lifts that they were using, right?
Right. Hmm.
Okay, but I just kind of wanted like I think the reason why we wrote this piece was to highlight this neurological biological asymmetry, and then we followed up the piece with a conjugate edge piece where we discussed like, hey, listen.